The following program will make you want to grow things and experience new and wonderful dreams about your plants, garden, and garden design. Listener participation is always strongly advised. Good evening and welcome to Down the Garden Path with your hosts, Joanne Shaw and Matthew Dressing, right here on Reality Radio 101. To get on board, send us an email. Our email address is instudio101@gmail.com. And now, right to your hosts of Down the Garden Path, Joanne Shaw and Matthew Dressing.
Thank you, Gary, and welcome, Matthew.
Welcome, Joanne, and thank you, Gary.
Welcome to Down the Garden Path, where we discuss down-to-earth tips and advice for your plants, gardens, and landscapes. As landscape designers and gardeners, we think it is important and possible to have great gardens that are low maintenance, and we want to help you make it happen. I'm Joanne Shaw, landscape designer and owner of Down to Earth Landscape Design for the past 11 years. It is currently a design-only business here east of the GTA, and Down to Earth will be offering garden maintenance this spring. With me is Matthew Dressing.
Hey, everyone. I'm Matthew Dressing, horticulturist and landscape designer and owner of Natural Affinity Designs. Natural Affinity is a landscape design and garden maintenance firm servicing Toronto and the Eastern GTA. We enjoy doing Down the Garden Path, Joanne and I, each week, bringing you interesting, relevant, and helpful topics to help you achieve a great garden. We learn right along with you from each other, from our research, and from our guests that join us here, like this evening. We welcome your questions via social media and emails.
Yes, and thank you, everyone, for joining us down the garden path. And I think of the long winter days for gardeners, all we think about, aside from getting back into the garden, is Canada blooms.
Yes.
Right? That's one of our big things to look forward to. And so we're very excited and very proud to be talking all about Canada blooms today with head horticulturalist David Turnbull.
Right. So David's joining us this evening, and his background is 2 years at the agricultural business program, as well as 4 years science degree in agriculture through the University of Guelph. Over the last 32 years, he spent in ornamental horticultural industry. He's done things such as nursery production, evolving into nursery sales from 6 different nurseries.
Mm-hmm. I can imagine.
Yeah, exactly. And then volunteering and contract work for Canada Blooms for 18 years. So he's going to have an inside scoop, I think. And has been the full-time horticultural director for Canada Blooms for the last 3 years. And he's also the property manager of Landscape Ontario for 3 years and has been a member of Landscape Ontario, including the president of Landscape Ontario for 2 years being president and a member for 25 years. So thank you. That's amazing. And thank you for joining us, David.
Welcome to the show, David.
Hello there.
Oh,
Hello
there he is.
there. Oh, there you are. So yeah, how'd you like that long bio, eh? So
yeah.
you
Hopefully didn't put anybody to sleep.
well, you definitely obviously knew the industry you wanted to be in.
Well, yes, it was an interesting transition. I grew up on a large family farm and owned a farm up until this past fall, and I sold, but had lots of experience at raising livestock, growing crops. It was a natural transition into the educational programs, the 2-year and then the 4-year program, and then when I came out, I kind of switched over into horticulture and stayed on that road for the rest of my life.
There
so
you
far.
go. Yeah, so far. Oh, well, that's great. And I'm so excited because about to talk about Canada Blooms. Last week was our kind of season premiere, and we talked a bit about the Landscape Designer Conference and Landscape Ontario Congress. To tell everybody about what it's like in our industry. That's something we all really look forward to as far as an industry event. But I think Canada Blooms is something all gardeners, regardless of whether you're in the industry or you're, I want to say in quotes, just a gardener, really look forward to. Don't you agree?
Oh, yes. I find it so interesting as I roam about through this fall and winter doing my work, and I come across, cross paths with people, and their eyes light up. Oh, you work for Canada Blooms? That's my breath of fresh air.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's an encouragement to me and all of us who work so hard to pull it off, knowing that there's a whole population out there that are just kind of panting, waiting for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so this year it takes place, the dates I'm sure are blazoned in your memory.
Yeah. Yeah. So, March 9th to the 18th.
Okay, which is that's what I thought too. So March 9th to the 18th. And it's got a really cool theme this year.
That's right. Each year we have a theme to help kind of pull together the all different aspects of the festival. And because our industry is we're so fortunate to have so many skilled and talented people in it, like yourself, the designers, the builders, the growers, the retailers, all aspects of it. And so we find having a theme helps to kind of give some consistency somewhat to the look of the show.
Yeah.
So this year it's Let's Go to the Movies.
Excellent. I think that's really cool. Last year was really incredible because it was Canada's, celebrating Canada's 150. And let's go to the movies.
Yeah, that theme gives, we look for themes that give lots of opportunity. That doesn't narrow it down too much. And of course, how many thousands or tens of thousands of movies are out there? So lots of opportunity for the garden builders to incorporate some aspect of it into their design and to show people not only their individual skill, their individual perspective on landscape design and gardening, but by adding a theme to it, it helps people to think. They may not want a movie theme or whatever in their garden.
Yes,
but it's more than just kind of plunking down plants.
Yeah.
According to a design, or we can be so creative with our spaces wherever they are, and whether they're large or small, whether it's a balcony or whether it's a small front yard, or we're fortunate to have a large space.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think the other cool thing is a lot of the garden builders are coming from a lot of different range of an experience as well. You've got some new gardeners, like I was a new participant last year. Matthew's a new participant this year. And yet there's some that have been doing the show for 30 years. So that everybody's at a different age, so everybody's concept of movies is going to be different too, right? So I think it's going to be really, really very eclectic to see how everybody incorporates the theme.
Yeah, I agree.
Into the show. So I think that's good. And I loved the plant. We got a sneak peek of the pots. So the big, I don't know, is that a big reveal to say they look like popcorn? all the planters. So that's
Yeah. So as part of this theme approach, now, if the folks listening have attended, if they've not, then by all means they can't afford not to miss it. But wherever they come into the show, we have entrance gardens, and we incorporate the theme to right from the moment they walk in. We want to wow people. We want to really give them that burst of spring, and fire them up, get them excited, and so this year we're going to use the popcorn box as somewhat a common denominator. It won't be everywhere, but you would have to be a bit colorblind to miss them.
That's right.
They're all sizes, and we're going to have a very large one, which I think you will be able to see from just about anywhere on the home show floor as you look across to the entrance to Canada Blooms. So we always try to have something that's a visual draw, and so the popcorn spilling out will be plants, different types of plants of the white and yellow flowers, and we're in the midst of creating, and I have a great team of people designers who both volunteers and contract people who bring their excitement and their creativity to these various aspects of the festival, and it's every year. I'm excited for what they're going to bring.
Yeah, it is just amazing to see how it all comes together.
It really is.
Yeah, for sure. So there are lots of different types of gardens. You know, we kind of hit into some of the big gardens, but David, there's a range of types of gardens that you take care of or you're in charge of. Is there a new, like you've got the small gardens as well as, the bigger gardens we were talking about. And the small garden is the kind of the front yard and backyard gardens?
That's right. A couple of years ago, we brought in the front yard gardens, and that was, I think, was a real hit. Excuse me. The continuity of kind of walking along and this nice black wrought iron fence along and looking in, it's like you're getting a chance to glimpse into the front yards of 6 or 8 gardens. And then we added the backyard gardens last year, and which were great. And this year we're adding balcony gardens.
Excellent. Balcony gardens. So that's going to be cool because of all the downtown condos, Yeah. And I think the nice thing about the small gardens, both the front and the backyard, was how that space is very relatable to homeowners, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right. I mean, we have statistics, that there's something like 200,000 people live in condos within just a couple kilometers of where this festival takes place.
Wow.
And so we know that of the 175,000 people who come through, there's a certain percentage of them are live in condos, and might look at all these different sizes of gardens and wish they had it, but that's not going to work where they
right.
are. So let's try and give them options. Let's show them that while their space may be quite confined, there's still fun things they can do with plants. And so that's the goal of these 6 balcony gardens, is to give them options. And one of the gardens is going to have planter boxes, and they're going to be plants that would be suitable if that was sitting in a east-facing garden or a north, or so on.
Yeah. That is great. And it actually ties into our first question, David. Someone has emailed in.
Jazz Lupa asks, David, is Canada Blooms still accepting applications for the balcony gardens?
Actually, I do have one opening.
Ooh.
I do. They were all booked up, and one person, some issues came up, and so by all means, contact me.
Okay, there you go, Jazz.
It'll probably go quickly.
Yes, especially now that we've told everybody. So they better.
And if I can put the word out, I actually have one front and one backyard garden space still open as well.
Okay.
So they're usually I don't push too hard to get these filled right away.
Yes.
The main gardens are already booked in kind of June.
Yes.
Of the the previous year, but these kind of evolve and grow, and so. I do have several openings yet, so I would love to hear from people. Okay,
well, that's excellent. It is a wonderful opportunity to I've been encouraging Matthew, and we've been talking about his ideas, and so the small gardens are really was such a great experience for me last year, and I'm really looking forward to trying again next year, but I did decide to much to your chagrin, I'm sorry, David, that I did take, but I think you've forgiven me now, so next year, me hooking Matthew in, so there you go.
And if I may say, it's quite a low-cost way for someone who's a design builder to get a start at this really a world-class festival. There's only one larger in the U.S. than the one we have here in Canada.
Wow.
So this is just an exceptional way to get exposure to a lot of people at quite a very low cost. Basically, we're providing just about everything for you.
Yes.
So we just need your ingenuity and creativity, and And so, yeah, love to hear from you.
Yeah, and a little bit of time and blood, sweat, and tears. And aside from that, but
right.
you know, absolutely. And I totally agree with that. I think that was a great lesson for me last year. And again, I'm excited for Matthew. So so that is good. And we have Shane asking that this is another excellent aspect of Canada Blooms regarding the speakers, David. So Shane is asking that you've had great speakers in the past. Do you know who the speakers are for this year's show?
So, yes, Lisa Pasco, our great office manager. I'm not sure if that's exactly her title. That's what I call her. She runs the place for us. She has the speakers pretty much lined up, and that will be on our website. I need to check with her tomorrow.
Okay.
But probably very soon.
Yes.
So if Shane can just check in with our website from time to time soon, we'll have the full slate out there. So he knows so they know what's coming.
Right. Excellent. Thank you very much, Shane, for the question. That's great. So I'm excited about the balcony. I'm waiting to see how you guys pull that off. So that is going to be incredible.
Me too, because I live in an apartment, so I have an east-facing balcony garden. So I'll be looking for some inspiration for sure.
Great. What we've done is basically built using a metal tubing, a frame, and we'll clad it with plywood. So there'll be 6 individual units. They're 10 feet wide, 7 feet deep, and 8 feet high. And so each person or team who has a balcony will decorate it, will plants, artwork, whatever, to give people ideas what they can do. And then they're going to be kind of lined up. So it's kind of like the front yard gardens. You can walk along and kind of look into the balcony and see what they're doing. And the idea, it's to give them ideas, what they can potentially do in their space.
Right. Right. That's excellent. And so they'll be grouped together, much like this the front and the backs.
That's right. They'll all be in one location on the show floor. Yes.
Excellent. Yeah. So that definitely everyone make sure you look for those. I mean, because I think the front, all of them, you kind of, I mean, once you see the front yards, you know that the backyards are there somewhere too. And that's a great thing to look at just to see. And I love how they were grouped together. Like you said, you can just kind of go through a nice little stroll and see all the different concepts side by side. So I think it's a great feature. I mean, not to say those large, projects and the large design build projects and booths and displays that are put on are always phenomenal to look at. Is there anything new there this year, David, with the larger?
So in the large, we have, let me see, I'm just looking at the floor plan now. We have, many of the builders come back year after year. We like continuity, but also like to incorporate new ones because it's not at all a closed shop, as it were. We have, people like Aqua Spa, pools, people like James Thompson, Lancon, Bancheri, Vaughan Landscaping. New this year is Jackson Pond.
Oh, okay.
Out of where's he out of Burlington? Does amazing work with ponds and stonework.
And that's excellent because he did a small garden last year.
That's right.
And he's gotten the guts to do a bigger one. So that's wonderful.
Yes, he was kind of champing at the bit to get more space after last year. So we've given him that, and he's going to do an amazing work.
Oh yeah,
so
for sure.
It's a treat to see how creative these people are.
Yeah.
One that will be a focal point is going to be called the Genoscape Highway of Heroes. Genoscape is the company that will be building it. Highway of Heroes is the nonprofit organization that's been going for a couple of years now. Mark
Cullen.
Thank you. Sorry, Mark.
Mark Cullen.
Mark Cullen has been the leader and has championed this whole movement to plant 117,000 trees, one for each service person who has died over the past, basically since I think the First World War. And so that's been an amazing charity, an amazing organization that has given people all across the province an opportunity to engage in support in planting trees. So many have family members, have friends, have contacts who have lost personnel in various military conflicts, and so this garden, which is a very large space committed
Oh, wow.
to on the floor plan, it will be to honoring our heroes and educating the attendees as to what this is about,
Okay.
and encourage them to participate however they may. So we think that's an exciting addition to the festival this year.
Excellent. And because Mark works with someone else named Scott, is there someone else that works with him on the project?
Sure. Yes.
Yes.
Scott is I'm trying to think his last name.
Yes.
There's a whole team of them now.
Okay.
Who work for the Highway of Heroes project.
Excellent.
And Scott was kind of the initial one, and then there's 3 or 4 others that are now working with them. It's become a real going concern, which is great. That's what we wanted.
Yeah, absolutely. Because early on in the project, Scott and I we played phone tag for a while, I really wanted him to come on the show to talk about it. And and I know the different horticultural societies out in Durham region have participated, and the district, our District 17, that I'm involved with, the Pickering Horticultural Society, and so so from different angles, I was kind of that's touched me from different areas of my life. So definitely would love to speak more to that. So that is going to be a great display, and I know. Last year, Genescape did the wonderful display with Gord Downey,
Correct.
And the documentary on that young boy.
Yep.
So that was quite a showpiece of Canada Bloom. So it sounds like Joe from Genescape needs to he has to outdo himself every year, doesn't he?
Well, it's certainly incorporated in this garden will be his, what is really his amazing work of all different types of water features.
Mm-hmm.
And if you were there last year, you would have seen that one. The year before, amazing, an array of water features again. And so, this is certainly Joe's passion. This is Joe's strength, and he brings real credibility to our industry, like just so many others, by just bringing their unique. What gets them excited, and when they showcase that, there's it's people. It's amazing how people come along and say, yes, we want some aspect of this in our space, in our outdoor space.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's his stuff it does speak to everybody, that you can envision it being in a smaller scale.
Mm-hmm.
Not everyone can have something as large as what's at Canada Blooms, but. That's the creativity that can be pulled off, that you can walk into the space and really envision it in your own small yard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's wonderful. So as far, you're really responsible, I know you're responsible for a lot, David, but your big thing is the plants.
That's right, yes. The putting on an event in March is such fun but such challenging work, because we want to have all the color that we can, but what we're doing is we're taking plants and basically trying to wake them up early.
Mm-hmm.
And some are much more what I call cooperative at that than others. And basically, plants that flower in the spring and early summer are plants we focus on.
Okay.
Because if they're flowering late in the summer and the fall, I have great difficulty getting them to wake up.
Yeah.
Or I can get them started,
but
not any flower. So like many of the ornamental grasses, they only start to flower well into the summer.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've found that when I put the heat to them in December, I get lots of nice lush growth, but not a flower head.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's just an example. But certainly, yes, we have greenhouses that we have contract growers that work with us. And my job is to work with the garden builders as to source plants that they need, and to sometimes get them to modify what they want if what they're asking for isn't potentially going to work.
Right.
And get it forced and bring it down, and there's all kinds of challenges. We've had a very cold stretch over at Christmas time, and so that when you're heating a greenhouse, that becomes very costly at this time of year.
Yeah.
And the other thing is sometimes we don't have a very sunny January. Now this year we've had some good sunny days, and every one I literally want to run outside and jump up and down, because every sunny day really helps the plants to wake up. You can put a lot of heat to them, but if you don't have the natural sunshine, they just kind of sit there and look at me.
Yes. Yeah. Or artificial light really only goes so far, right?
That's true. It does help, but the natural stuff is what really counts.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you must have a whole list of things that that you pull from and to kind of suggest, like you said, you kind of ask the builders to, maybe rethink things a little bit because you know what works and what doesn't work.
That's right. Yes. And most of them are always quite, cooperative. Basically, if there's any issues, we just kind of get together and say, okay, here's options. You're looking for this type or shape of a plant, this color, and we find a way that, for the most part, we can get what they need, and the whole purpose of Canada Blooms, our mission is to encourage, educate, the public in all the opportunities in gardening, and whether that's plants, whether that's hardscaping, whether that's ponds, kind of the full slate out there. Canada Blooms is the public face of our industry, is the public face of Landscape Ontario.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was started by Landscape Ontario and the Garden Club of Toronto, so it's a joint venture. It's a separate organization, and I think it's been a very successful one.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's exciting to hear, like you said, outside of a large one in the U.S., in North America, it's the second largest.
That's right, yeah.
And I know it does bring people. That was one thing that blew me away last year was how far people come. The buses, the couples that, make it a weekend, event to come out for a few days to come to Toronto to spend their time at Canada Blooms. So I think that is, which is great because our listeners are from all over Ontario and even some in the U.S. So it's great to talk to our listeners to let you know about the show. And it's great that it's a 10-day show, so March 9th to March 18th. And so it's really worth considering taking it in. And it's a long day to get through it, but it's worth it. It's worth it for sure.
Yeah, come with your good walking shoes, and you'll be wowed. If I can talk for a moment about the lighting,
oh yes, please.
The complex, the facility where we're located. For a few years, we were in the main hall, which is a very high, beautiful building, high ceiling. And the lights there would completely wash out our landscape lighting. And so a few years ago, through a variety of issues, we moved into a connected building, and it has a stepped ceiling. And what we do is we turn out the lights over the center 2/3 of the show floor, and then we have spotlights, lots of spotlights. But what that does is it allows the landscape lighting to show.
Yeah.
And people have come in and kind of stand there and go, "Wow, this is amazing."
Yeah.
To be able to see and smell and hear the water trickling and the various light combinations. So that was a move we made a couple of years ago, and has been, I think it's gone over well in terms of showing off the landscape projects.
Yes, absolutely. Because I think landscape lighting is a big part of landscaping now, whether it's showing, highlighting the ornamental trees or the great stonework that contractors, the ponds for sure, the waterfalls, that type of thing. So landscape lighting is a really important part of landscaping these days. And you're right, turning down the light. It's funny how, but then we're doing the opposite. We're turning down the lights, right, to show off the lighting. But I think it's been very effective.
Sure.
And I know it's not, you made it sound very simple, but I know a lot more goes into that as far as the positioning of everything and people standing up on ladders and working out the whole lighting is a whole other team, right?
That's right, yes. We have a whole team that installs the lights before we even start the construction. And then the 2 nights before the show opens, we come in with another whole team, and then we call those the spotters. And they then position them and turn them up and turn them down according to what the garden builder needs.
Right.
Yeah. So it's kind of a multi-stage project to get that all done. It's an interesting dynamic. The builders who come back year after year, know the situation of where you're working in such close quarters with all the other builders. And we encourage them to pre-build as much as possible. And because if you were to come onto the show floor during construction, it would at times look like perhaps complete chaos. But everyone knows what they're doing, and they're going at it flat out. And because we start on, I think, about the 3rd of March, and we have to be finished, of course, for actually the 8th. The show opens on March the 9th, but they have to be finished the day before in the morning because all the gardens are judged.
Ah, yes. Okay.
Yes. So, and we have awards for all different categories. And they, of course, love to get the awards to showcase that they're a winner at this international event. And we're happy to show them off. This is what we're all about.
Yeah. And it's a sight to be seen of all the soil, wet, so empty space with whole piles of soil and mulch and brick and skids of brick, and then all every day it just changes, and how it all I remember the booth beside near mine last year was a pile of mulch for up to like almost the second to last day, and then I think it was Jensen, right? And then all of a sudden, poof, it just went together. All the house plants arrived, and their cool backdrop arrived, and the mulch was long gone, and it's just really incredible how everything is staged to make it happen.
Great. If I can talk a bit about the florist.
Oh, absolutely. Aspect. Yeah, because that's the Garden Club of Toronto.
So there's two aspects of this.
Sure.
So I'll come to the Garden Club in a minute.
Okay.
So we, as part of, as I said, this was started by Landscape Ontario and the Garden Club of Toronto. But there's a whole floral side of the industry that we want to incorporate as well. And so we have 8 right down the center aisle. We have 8, and there may be actually a couple more, but we'll see, floral spaces for florists to come in and create I call it their floral creation.
Yes.
Display, whatever, and they're amazing what they do each year.
Yeah.
And those are judged as well and have awards. And we find the public love what they bring. And it's some very funky, some of the really kind of far out, just all kinds of different. And I'm not the least bit creative, so I stand back. I'm amazed.
What they can do with flowers is incredible.
Sure. Yeah, that's right. And it's and we want to raise their profile to the public as well. Here's things you can do in your home and your space. And so we're just thrilled to have the florist. And this year there's going to be an actual floral day, and there will be we're stepping it up this year from the past few years for them.
Excellent. Yeah. Okay.
The industry suppliers have stepped up and are participating, and so we're really excited about having them more engaged because we just think that's one area of our event that we've had opportunity to improve on, and we're sure doing that this year.
Oh, that's excellent to hear, because last year they truly outdid themselves with the Canadian displays. It was incredible. So, and I can remember all the people, it was like paparazzi trying to take around the floral displays, trying to take the pictures. So, so that is great. And because that is a huge industry, the floral industry, the flower shops all over Ontario. There's a big movement of a lot of flower farmers, growing their own and really trying to increase that industry within Canada. I think that's a great thing to do.
Good.
Absolutely.
So if I can mention about the Toronto Flower Show, that's the event that's put on by the Garden Club of Toronto. So they have space allocated on the show floor, and there they have their various gardening classes, and they have an area for the internationals competition, and that's always amazing what the internationals bring. And that's not on what the internationals, they come in and do, create their what's the right word for what they do? Anyways,
their entries, like kind of like their entries to the competition.
That's the word. That's
okay.
The thing. Thank you.
No problem.
And but they're not on display all 10 days of the show,
right.
And it's only for I think about 5 days of the show. So if people are interested in that, they may want to check on our website when those are available to be seen, because it's amazing work. But even if you did miss that, the Toronto Flower Show is right chock full of all different classes, which they do change over halfway through.
Yes, yeah.
So there's a bit of an incentive to come in the first 5 days and then to come again in the last 5, because you'll see all different classes.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think there's just so much in their I guess it is a competition.
Yes.
There is so much that they have to divide it, and so 5 on and 5 on the next time. So that's great. And I love the themes and the different categories, and I think there's usually even a children's entry, isn't there? A category for children as well as the international. So so that is great. So David, we have Chuck asking, we've mentioned the date is March 9th to March 18th. Do you know the show prices for tickets? Off the top?
$20.
It's $20 still. That's great. You've been able to keep it at $20 for a number of years.
We have. Yes. And I might add, we co-locate with a home show.
Right.
So the same $20 ticket gets you into both shows.
Mm-hmm. So it's a bargain, really.
It is.
Yeah.
It's great value.
Yeah.
And I'm just again, Lisa will smack me. I should know this. I'm trying to just figure out under what age it's free.
Okay. You can look at that. Well, thank you for the question, Chuck, and I hope that answers you. So don't forget, yes, co-locating with the home show, which also for the 10 days. So that definitely makes it worth your trip if you're from out of town to come in, and you can see both shows. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely can be a 2-day event walking around at a nice pace, unless you wanted to plow through it really quickly and then take in some other sites of Toronto. But we definitely recommend. So I'd love for our listeners to let us know if you've been to Canada Blooms or if you're thinking to come to Canada Blooms. We'd love to hear from you, and any other questions you have while we have David. This is great, especially behind the scene questions. Mm-hmm. I think it's good that you can shed some light on things that and I asked you earlier today as far as the whole forcing, how do you sleep hoping that all those plants force the way they're supposed to do, because controlling Mother Nature is challenging, isn't it?
That's right. Trying to control, that's well put, trying to control Mother Nature. But in terms of behind the scenes, we bring in just thousands of tons of sand and hundreds of cubic yards of mulch for the garden builders. Each of them has skids and of stone, of all different types of hardscaping materials. All the plants that are in the greenhouse have to be all wrapped up and put in heated trucks and brought down. When we bring that in, about the 2nd or the 3rd of March ahead of time. Yeah. And then in the back area, I have an area where I set them all up, space them out, open them all up again, and then they're ready. As the builders, if they're ready for their plants, we move them in. They don't need their plants sitting there because they're just in their way.
Yes.
And so once they have kind of the hardscaping done, then we bring in the plants, they get them in place. And it's like following a recipe. Mm-hmm. Don't mix the ingredients in the wrong manner or at the wrong timing. It won't taste right.
That's right. That's right. And the bulbs, I know getting that taste of spring is always a big part of Canada Blooms. And so there's usually lots of bulbs on display. And that's quite a challenge as well, because you also do that twice.
That's right. We have to, most of the bulbs we have to change over halfway through, because by if we didn't by the 8th, 9th, 10th day, some of them would be not looking their best at all, and that's not the image we want. If someone comes in on the 10th day, we want them to be wowed.
Yes.
And not looking at bulbs that are keeled over. So we change those out halfway through.
Yep.
Fortunately, most of the perennials hold up well. Mm-hmm. Most everything else holds up very well.
Yep. Yeah, as long as with the garden owners water them like they're supposed to, right?
Yeah. We have a whole team that waters after hours.
That's right. That's right. And the huge team that does the switchovers also too, which is that can't be done easily, and that is definitely a large team of wonderful volunteers. Yes. So if any of our listeners are interested in volunteering, that's always an option as well. And so that
I'm glad you mentioned the word volunteers because we wouldn't run without them.
Right.
We have just hundreds and hundreds of volunteers that help in so many ways. Mm-hmm. Some really getting their hands dirty with building, with changeover, but many help us out during the festival.
Absolutely.
There's just all kinds of different positions that we just so appreciate. And what's so neat is so many of them come back year after year, and they're just so excited. And they get to for them it's participating in this and the fun of it, and we just treasure them. We just so appreciate all the volunteers. And if you've not come, and you might have a few hours during the festival or before, during construction, it's a completely different type of work before and after, the cleanup.
Yes.
But we need you all. So
that's right.
If you would like to give it a try, just let us know.
Yeah. And just the little taste of spring, like the nice thing about the before, well, I guess even the before and the during, but just you're around plant, it's snowing and cold outside, and you, by volunteering at Canada Blooms, you get to put your hands in soil and plant bulbs and plant shrubs and move them around or organize them, the variety of different things you can do for sure. So I think it's a win-win. You're helping Canada Blooms, but you also it's a great mood booster for the rest of us that are dying to get back in the garden. So definitely something to think about for sure.
Could I mention perhaps our early morning tours?
Oh, sure. Yeah,
that's we've had this for many years. There's a real contingent of the public who like to come in. So basically that gets you onto the show floor before it opens for a tour. So it's like you have the place to yourself.
Yeah. Yep.
And I think it's $40. I should know that.
But, that's okay. Approximately $40, and you get your tour guide too. Not only do you have you get a master gardener, I believe, that leads you around and talks to you about all the different gardens.
That's right, and you have. I mean, there may be several tours, but basically you have the place to yourself until the show opens, and so that's very popular. Speaking of pop, we are going to have something this year called pop-ups. And that's new, and those will be, I think, mainly floral. I call them floral creations, and they will be built during the show, during the day. So people will be able to watch whatever it is the floral designer is doing. And we've found in the past that those type of things, the public love to engage, watch, and see how this is going on. And so we're going to be doing, I think, 3 or 4 of those perhaps this year.
Excellent. Well, that's going to be interesting.
That's very cool,
yeah.
So, David, we were talking about all the things that go into this. What about after the show? What happens to all the plants and the materials after the takedown?
Good question.
Popular one, too.
So a certain percentage of the plants cannot be reused. Many of the bulbs are spent, but many of the annuals are not, and so we donate them to retirement homes in Toronto.
That's really nice.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it's been a fun kind of wrap up to our event. We box all these plants up and take them to kind of one central point, and then they're distributed, and it's just a great way to wrap up our festival.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. It is a challenge, I'm sure, that what can be reused and what can't be reused. The trees and the larger things, David, are they able to?
So if a plant has been forced into leaf or flower, it needs to be kept somewhere out of frost.
Right.
Otherwise, it will really be hurt.
Yeah.
So we have greenhouses where we take them to hold them, or the garden builders will take them back to their own, places to keep them. There is always some loss, just the transition.
Yeah.
So we try and minimize that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Make the best use of all our plants.
Yeah. And sometimes the weather cooperates, right? We can have a warm March, right? And so sometimes that's the challenge too, right? Is you never know what the weather's going to be like. So Mother Nature cooperates, and that makes everybody's life a little easier as well.
That's right.
If there's no more hard frosts in March. So
I'd like to, if I could mention our Plant of the Year program.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So each year we try and focus on a plant or group of plants, often that are new.
Okay.
Again, it's in part of our education of the public what's new and coming, because one of the main questions I get every year is, what's new, Dave?
What's new? That's right.
And where can I get it?
Yes.
So this year we're partnered with Proven Winners.
Ooh, perfect.
Proven Winners is a outstanding breeding organization. It's actually a group of greenhouses in the U.S. and nurseries, and their brand is very common across retailers now. And so there's actually 3 plants that are part of the Plant of the Year program.
Ooh, excellent.
Supertunia Bordeaux, Primo Black Pearl Heuchera, that's the perennial,
Okay.
and the shrub is Spilled Wine Weigela.
Ah.
So those 3 plants will be in our display gardens, and by display gardens I mean the kind of the common areas.
Right.
As well, they'll be in the gardens, the main gardens, and we'll have signage. And then we're going to have a specific area for Proven Winners to showcase their up-and-coming new plants
Okay.
for 2018. So that's new. And we're excited about having that exposure.
Yeah. And I know you're right, because that is what is new every year is something that people ask.
Hot question.
Mm-hmm. Even as landscape designers, right? People want to
Yeah.
know what's new in their garden, or what's a new plant that they can try that their neighbor might not have,
Yes.
that type of thing. So, definitely, that is a popular, and to see it first at Canada Blooms is great. And last year, David, I know there was a new rose introduced, and there were a lot of them at Canada Blooms. And I think you were mentioning to me earlier today about the roses this year.
Sure. So last year, we had the privilege of showcasing Canadian Shield. That was the first in a series of roses coming out of the Vineland Research Station.
Ooh, okay.
It's just the first. There's 5 or 6 kind of in the pipeline that will be coming over the next half a dozen years. And that was the first, a nice red colored flower.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we've done this year is we've partnered with a company called Star Roses and Plants
Okay.
out of the U.S. And they have, I'm trying to think. Okay, it's called Drift Roses and Knockout Roses.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
We're going to have about 1,000 of those roses in various displays and gardens this year. So that's like 10 times more roses than we've ever had at Canada Blooms.
Wow, 10 times.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah, the new, because that would be more like a carpet rose, right, Matthew? Like more lower cascading kind of ground type rose has definitely been a popular feature for clients. And just the bloom, the fact that they can have blooms, they bloom so profusely and confidently that I think that's been I know I've added them quite a bit to my gardens as well as the gardens I've designed. So for homeowners to see that in real life at Canada Blooms, I think that's going to be wonderful.
Those will be exciting to see for sure. Yeah.
Good.
Excellent. Well, there is so much to talk about, David, but I think we've covered it all. Is there anything else that we've missed that you think that you wanted to make sure? I know we spoke about volunteers. We spoke about the speakers. So check out the website, CanadaBlooms.ca.
And I think it was Jazz had the question about getting in contact with you for the balcony garden. So if there's anybody like Jazz or any volunteers who want to get a hold of you to get involved in Canada Blooms, where can they reach you, David?
My email address is David Turnbull at CanadaBlooms.com.
Okay, so Canada Blooms, the website's CanadaBlooms.com.
Yes.
Right. Sorry about that. So that's good. Excellent. Well, I think that thank you so much, David, for all this insight and all and good luck with the forcing and all the different little aspects I know that you are working on behind the scenes.
Okay, thank you. It's just an opportunity and privilege to be on the show and to share this, what we're about, what we're doing. We're excited about it and look forward to hear from people if they have more questions.
Absolutely.
And March 9th to the 18th, fit us into your schedule. The TTC stops right at our back door.
The GO train, yep.
That's right.
Yep, definitely easy access and centrally located. So that's great. And like we said, for people who are maybe coming in from out of town, there's a lot to see with the co-sharing with the home show. So so definitely it's worth the drive to Toronto. So I think it's been great to. I know last year I did a show kind of recapping Canada Blooms and my experience. So it's been great to talk about the upcoming event and learning a little bit more about what goes into it. And I really appreciate you joining us today. And we'll continue to talk about it as we lead up to Canada Blooms. I'm sure we'll keep mentioning it on the show. So so thank you again, David, very much.
Great.
And we hope
Thanks, Joanne and Matthew.
yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Well, there you have it, everyone. So that was some great information.
Great information. Who knew all that stuff went into Canada Blooms?
I know. Are you getting excited about your booth that I've convinced you to
Yeah,
do?
I was going to say. I am. Yeah. I am. And it's my first time. So, I mean, all that behind the scenes kind of stuff that David was mentioning, I've never kind of been in the show or had to be there to see any of that. So it'll be interesting to see all that happening while I take care and build the booth. Yeah, it's exciting and it's anxious because it's such a big show, right?
For sure.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and if our listeners are new, the small front yard, I did a front yard garden last year, which was my first time. I had volunteered previously at doing some of the planters and kind of been involved so I saw a little bit of the, before, but you certainly do see a lot more of it when you're there as part of the build. So, so I'm excited. And I think the small gardens and the small backyard, and I'm excited about the balcony gardens. I think it really is really impactful for the homeowners because they can really stand there and really kind of envision their space and their yard and how they can transfer those design skills. Like, it's great to be wowed by the big gardens, but not everybody, with the outdoor kitchens and the big water features, not everybody has that in their budget. So looking at, how people handle, I know last year I tried to show a creative way of handling a grade change to the front door and kind of doing it a bit more of at an angle transition and still having a sitting area in the front porch, that type of thing. So and the landscape lighting, there's so many aspects to it. So
many different things.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
right. That's right. As well as the cool theme. I can't wait to see what people do with Take Me to the Movies. So I think that's going to be wonderful as well. So lots more to talk about on the show. We did mention for any new listeners last week in our kind of official season opener, we talked about a new segment that Matthew and I wanted to add to the show called Design Dilemma. So we do want listeners, if you have a tricky spot or a tricky question or a plant that you're not sure, what should go in that spot, or a plant that you have that you're not sure whether you should keep it or not. There's so many different types of design dilemmas, aren't there?
On so many, you can't even go on about it.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. So we do want you to, write us. We're, as landscape designers, we want to help, and we do want to make this part of the show. And you can email us, and you can send in a picture. So in studio 101@gmail.com. So obviously it's late in the show now to do that, but if you do want to email that, to keep that in mind, you can email us as well directly, and then we can talk about it on next week's show and as part of the segment. So we're hoping, and I know everything's kind of probably covered in snow right now, so not too many people are maybe venturing out to take a picture of that tricky spot, but please keep that in mind, and we're really looking forward to it, and we hope that that's something that you guys like as well. So you have us here, captive audience, for an hour a week, 2 landscape designers, and we wanted to just kind of bring that to you as well. So what else we have going on, Matthew?
Next week, I guess we've got some upcoming shows that are very exciting.
Shows.
We can let everybody know about. And if I can find them, if you hear the rustling of papers. And so next week, we're going to have Manuela Poli. I hope I pronounced your name there right. From the Southern Ontario Orchid Society. They do have a show coming up as well, I believe February 10th. It begins at the Toronto Botanical Gardens. So Manuel is going to join us there and talk about the show and what goes into that, and lots of exciting things going on there. The week after, February 5th, we have Hortus TV.
That's right.
Liza, how do you pronounce her last name? Because
Yes, and it's actually
Is it
Lisa. It looks like Liza,
Lisa?
but it's Lisa.
my apologies,
That's
Lisa.
okay, Lisa. And she's been on the show in the past, but Hortus TV has definitely grown. It's when she first came on, I'm sure Gary remembers, and but it was just in Canada that you could access her TV show, her gardening shows. But now it's a streaming service of gardening shows. And now you can access, or our U.S. listeners can actually have access to it as well. So I'm looking forward to hearing about how Hortus TV has grown. So yeah, so Lisa will be here to talk about that on February 5th. And on February 12th,
we have Bob Reeves from Root Rescue.
yeah.
So Root Rescue is new to me, but it was like the organisms, the
Mycorrhizae.
Thank
is it?
you.
Yes, is that the right word?
Right.
Okay.
That join with plants in a symbiotic relationship and help those roots grow. So
Yes.
kind of like that mic stuff that you might have seen. So
Yeah.
Bob's going to come and talk about that product there and how it'll
yeah.
benefit.
Yeah, definitely.
garden.
And I know Nancy, who's a fellow landscape designer, she's been using it for a couple of years when she met Bob, and she just swears by it. So
Really?
it's she puts it on all her installations and her own garden, and so she really thinks highly of it. And has really seen some great success. So she introduced me to Bob at Landscape Ontario Congress last week or a week and a half ago now. And so he was happy to come on the show and to teach us. So it's, I think, really going to be an informative show and help, especially with trees. And, nobody likes to have to return a dead tree.
No.
So we want to do everything we can do. Independent of the weather, because that's the one thing we can't control is Mother Nature, like we said with David. So I'm excited to hear all about, learn all about that with Bob.
That will be exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's lots of great upcoming shows.
Lots.
Please don't forget to check us out on social media. If you have any questions or comments on the show, please let us know. You can reach us. So all of mine, if you go to my website at down2earth.ca with the number 2, you can see all my social media there. So Joanne Shaw _G2E, both for Instagram and Twitter. And my newsletter. So I do a newsletter once a month that I help all my clients do. I always say, what to do and what not to do in the garden. So it's the seasonal tips, kind of what to do. So you can go to my website and check out, sign up for my newsletter.
Yeah.
And Matthew, where can we find you?
And you can find me at naturalaffinitydesigns.ca. And just like Joanne, I've got links to all my various social media outlets there as well.
Yeah, excellent. And of course, you can find us here every Monday night on Reality Radio 101, right, Gary? And we're happy to be here, and we're happy that you're joining us here down the garden path every week. And we're really excited. So thank you for joining us once again.
Yes.
And thank you for listening once again to Down the Garden Path here on Reality Radio 101.
Thank you for listening to Down the Garden Path with your hosts, Joanne Shaw and Matthew Dressing. Right here on Reality Radio 101.